Warning, the following video contains disturbing content. Well, it's more weird than anything. Honestly, cringe. Look, it's not that bad, but I'm just covering my ass, okay? As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a fetishist. No, that's not true. It's just a weird way to open a video. And I know that title won't be what I call a video, for obvious reasons. This holiday season, everyone is talking Home Sweet Home Alone. Or Home Alone 1. Why am I talking Home Alone 3? I will explain how this video concept started, but I don't actually talk fetishes for quite a while, so strap in. Or not, no straps.
What a McShane.
But what does Goodfellas have to do with fetishes? Or even Home Alone? Maybe I just have a kink for Joe Pesci head trauma? Scorsese opens his film with one of the most memorable starts to a movie. His narration stays with us the whole story because it informs everything that follows. That's a great introduction. It's a fascinating contradiction. Unpredictable violence shaping the aspirations of an impressionable child. Is that not Home Alone? Instantly you, the audience, can imagine growing up in a neighbourhood witnessing these gangsters get whatever they want. And you understand their aspirations to be recognised as made men. It's nature versus nurture in a childhood environment. That's critical to a young fella's formative years. People see all kinds of things, dramatic or mundane, and when they're young, that can shape entire adult lives. But this eventual reality may be different than how you first imagined years ago. Before we get to the weird stuff, let's lay down some context. The effect of cinema can be very powerful on the audience. The core purpose of movie making. A lot of us grew up on 18 or R-rated movies. Little kids watching big booby women get drilled and chainsawed. There are 12 Friday the 13th movies, and people are making fan films because we can't wait for another official one. Now, no one is carrying around their mother's head while killing camp counselors, but we do buy every new re-release, rank the kills, do podcasts, and we wear the masks. What I'm getting at is people believe that cinema is intended to emotionally resonate, to stick with us like all good art. But some films are production line junk food. Eat it and move on. But any film can have an enduring formative effect. Roger Ebert is a critic with passion in reacting to innocuous children's entertainment.
If you think that a real baby crawling through traffic and crawling out on it, look, you're already smiling, you think that's funny.
Like Jamie Oliver and his chicken nuggets vendetta, Robbie did not want kids eating junk food. He stressed the importance that the best cinema is inspirational, and you have to be very careful with how you inspire kids. Whoever thought this was a family movie must think kids are made of stern stuff. To call it manipulative would be inaccurate. It has the ambition to manipulate, but fails. You can see that the national taste is rapidly spiraling down to the level of a whoopee cushion. Children, who are fresh and inquisitive, will go to this movie, and for 88 minutes, the movie will do what it can to deaden their imaginations. Hughes is usually the master of the right note, the right line of dialogue, and this time, there's an uncomfortable undercurrent in the material. The movie is filled with good intentions and good feelings, but they seem to conceal another side. A side that makes the movie feel creepy and subtly unwholesome. Neither Siskel or Ebert cared much for the work of John Hughes and Chris Columbus. To be fair, these days people think Home Alone is nothing but paint cans and war crimes, but it's only the last 15 minutes or so. The two critics didn't like the part that we all love.
If this movie had a theme song, it would be "Dumbbells Keep Falling on My Head."
They wanted the whole focus to be on a kid just enjoying life without rules and responsibility. Hughes already did that movie. It was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Both of these films are wish fulfillment, and ain't that a universal draw for cinema goers. Ferris Bueller aimed more for teenagers, like many Hughes stories, teetering on the precipice of adult life, savouring that waning crescent of childhood with the all too naive ambition to never become a boring grown-up. When you're Ferris's age, you can drive wherever you want, explore the city, take in the culture. In Home Alone, we follow a kid who barely has a real grasp of the world beyond his street. Your home is your world. Your family, your culture. Kevin McAllister doesn't just protect his parents' valuables, he defends everything that defines him. The film shows how shopping, authority figures, and even your next door neighbour can be alien and scary. Kevin can't wait to get back to the comfort of his own home, and now that's being threatened? With Home Alone 3, Siskel had lightened on the first two, and he thought this third film couldn't hold a candle to them.
Boy, has this franchise ever run out of gas. Even the star, Macaulay Culkin, is gone.
But Ebert liked it. He said it was funnier and gentler, which makes me think Ebert was in the NRA. The Wet Bandits were two common burglars, robbing empty houses and leaving the sinks on. They had moments of adult smartness, but clearly no match for the quick-witted Kevin. Here,
we think he intercepted a top-secret electronic device stolen from a Defense Department contractor by a group of international criminals working for a North Korean terrorist organization.
What are they, breaking into Jack Ryan's house? They sieged the home of one child, with silenced handguns and shotguns. An 8-year-old threatens someone with the prospect of point-blank execution.
I think I would have liked the movie more if it had been much more realistic. In other words,
that's what I'm
what
saying.
would really happen if a
Exactly.
little kid were left home alone?
2 thumbs down. On the hammers, stand your ground, you filthy animals.
This movie empowers little kids. This is the one where they finally got it right. I liked it better than the other two.
I think he has a point. The Looney Tunes finale of the original was just that, a bombastic kid climax.
That did not sound right.
And because that's all we fixated on, that shaped the franchise and all of 90s family entertainment. And I know it's just a reprisal of old school slapstick, but I've barely addressed the fetishes yet. Home Alone establishes Kevin's understanding of the adult world, stealing a toothbrush so he can't call the cops. But in Home Alone 2, he intentionally lures the Wet Bandits into his premeditated saw trap. He could call the cops because he knew when and where they were going to rob the toy store. He was there himself, but only to put them through the first of many pratfalls. He wanted to inflict pain. Ebert's heart was in the right place. You have to be careful with what young people might pick up on, but not entirely remember until years later. And I'm not talking just violence. Like, that's Marla from Grandma's 2 The New Batch.
Thirsty?
I had a real crush on her back in the day when I saw this, but I'm only just remembering that now. I crushed on her more than Phoebe Cates because I missed another formative moment from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Judge Reinhold masturbating, of course. That's gotta be humiliating for a girl to walk in like that. And we're still at the fairly innocent stage. To be honest, watching Home Alone 3 again reminds me I had a crush on one of the villains too. And really, as an adult, the dude from Twin Peaks is a real model too. Am I in Limp Bizkit? Because what's behind all these blue eyes? Could Home Alone 3, a movie that's main footnote is not being as terrible as Home Alone 4 and 5, be a formative moment for some? That's not where we're dropping the title? Childhood crushes are not weird though. How does that make Home Alone 3 even horny adjacent? John Hughes did write a lot of coming-of-age stories of blossoming youth, but Home Alone has no obvious sex appeal, though it did feature absolute queen Catherine O'Hara, who was so good they cast that gremlin woman just to copy her despite being a completely different character. This was actually set to be filmed back-to-back with 2. Didn't work out like that, and eventually the entire cast moved on. But the editor of the first 2 Home Alones, Raja Gosnell, he takes the director's seat now, and Home Alone 3 wasn't the only film of his oeuvre that I had on repeat as a kid. Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2 Shaggy's Buff, 2 movies that took the chaste 60s IP and updated it with...
I can look at myself naked.
This production is a little bit different from the way you might have seen it before because we put a little something in there for Daddy.
Oh, not something for Daddy.
Look, I'm not making this video an hour long about Scooby-Doo. Leave that to the experts. But like Hughes' other work, this was teenagers played by mid-20s actors, and the weird stuff was pretty intentional.
Dorky chicks like you turn me on too.
Daphne wasn't just the hottie damsel, she learns to look after herself and save the day. And Velma wanted to be sexy, but also still be herself. There were other parts that hinted at sexuality.
Intimacy with another person.
But there's no fetish about finding attractive Hollywood stars attractive. That is the point. This actress in Home Alone 3 is objectively cute. I'll give her a quick search, and that'll be that.
This is it. No turning back.
It auto-completes to Split Pants. This is where I realised there was something we need to talk about. Home Alone 3 might have given something for the subconscious to grab onto. No, So this is pretty normal, it's pretty normal. Home Alone Wiki, bucket of glue. Hang on. Why did we really need an entire page for this? Its only known victim is Alice Ribbons. The squishing sound of her midden? Sacrificing her midden? The language is a little colourful, but maybe I'm reading into it. Or someone is trying to vocalise what I'm talking about. And they agree with me that this lady does stand out over on Greatest Female Villains Ever. No words necessary. It's just low-res screen caps from the movie. There are comments. That's cool. Yeah, she is hot. Thanks for reading. So, there's clearly others. Dozens! And their vocalization is on par with a jock DM just playing it cool. Fan art takes time, and actually this looks fine enough. Okay, this is a TLDR DM, getting her buttocks in trouble. Now here's where the interesting part begins. Begins? Bro, this fanfiction is longer than the script to this video. Wow. And this isn't just any slash fic. This is a pairing of a Home Alone 3 villain and someone else's OC. This is exactly what I'm looking for here. I mean, not this in particular, but this is more than a cursory acknowledgement of attractiveness. This is engagement, participation. You see here the benefits of slash fiction, in that the writers can stay anonymous while creating a world in which they can express themselves creatively and freely. That's fantastic, let's keep it positive, I love it. However, slash fiction is categorized as adding sexual or romantic elements to an established canon pairing. The audience is adapting the source material for their own exploration. What we're looking for is stuff that is already technically in the movie, that is more being interpreted by people, even unintentionally. Her isn't that long. Oh, why even bother with this fic then? She's in a diaper. Infantalism isn't entirely out of left field with childhood themes of Home Alone, bear with me. There may be some mirror effect when revisiting these films and grappling with your adult fetishes, bringing the person back to a state of adolescence, of innocence. What is a fetish but a strange contradiction of normalcy and deviancy? What's more symbolic than a diaper which keeps things clean, maintains order, and yet in this scenario invites expectations of dirtiness on every level? I should say, I have no psych education. These people could just love shit and piss. This was also a commission, which makes finding the real weirdos tough as they aren't putting in the effort themselves. I still have to edit this terrible concept of a video essay. This guy gets it. She's one of the bad guys in the movie. He isn't wrong, but he does not care about Home Alone. But the commenters remember vividly this is what happens. It really honours a great scene. Best scene in the movie. One of the best scenes in any movie ever. I'm getting close. The generation of fetishists that I called out in the title, they're uniting, subconscious feelings being reverberated between strangers online, building a sense of comfort in community. This is where confidence is grown to accept your freakiness, because maybe this suggests you aren't a freak if there are others like you. That's just not how it happened in the movie. It was Mrs. S bound and gagged. And that wasn't in a weird way. If this isn't the clear evidence we're looking for, then I don't know how much further we can go.
Fries!
At this point, many of you watching will think, how does this come to be? I had to make this video to understand that myself. Many adults can engage in the BDSM or fetish scene as a then interest, but the scientific roots of latent fetishism are still not fully understood. An approach that I found that made sense was sexual imprinting, which follows the notions of classical conditioning, where people learn to recognize sexual content and concepts, not just sex itself, but the surrounding conventions like your classic stockings or fishnets. A bra is not inherently a sexual object, and yet when we see one, we picture booba. Imprinting suggests that during the early times of arousal, some people make those connections that are less common or unintentional. I said so myself that I found these actresses attractive as a child, and maybe that's a reason we can find this deviancy so uncomfortable, because the reality is a stray spark in our growing brains could have done this to us. Makes you think whether or not we should still be binding and gagging people in families' entertainment.
It seems there are some nude photographs of me on the internet, and I would like you to search for them.
That's a real quick no.
I swear, if this guy threatens to do anything to Catherine O'Hara, I'm giving him to the count of 10 before unleashing CBT upon them. I think we're winding down this video essay with just a clip from the movie. Oh, it's in slow motion and reversed. Of all the things we've seen, this is the thing that yucked me out, and I don't know why. All the glooping and slopping and... yeah, glopping. But while wet and messy play I find a little off-putting, it is one of the more interesting subjects. Unlike the self-insert fanfiction, this is a spectator fetish, enjoying the other person engage in slipping and sliming, and like the Home Alone traps made with household bits and bobs, Wham is not about bodily fluids. They enjoy playing with paints, creams and lotions that by themselves are not erogenous. Kind of like Home Alone 3. We're at least finding some genuine communication with what these people are feeling. Well, this guy's in the wrong place. But let's go back to the pants ripping. Public exposure is a thing that ties in closely with humiliation. There's non-sexual humiliation because most people just see pants and they laugh. But these are women's pants.
I just think it's the most intimate part of a woman's body, and to gain access to such a private place, I derive a lot of satisfaction from that.
And like the over-sexualization of bras, there's an intimate privacy being invaded here, something that you're not meant to see as a child. It reminds me of Harrison Ford. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a family adventure where Spielberg does not shy away from horrifying images that can rattle the soft child mind. I remember to this day the airstrip fight between Indy and that big bald Nazi. My parents would make me look the other way just as the unaware Nazi comes face to face with an airplane propeller. His blood splatters the side as Indy and Marion must have witnessed skin flayed off and a head diced like a watermelon. I would in later years watch this movie when it was on TV, by myself, and run into the closet facing the corner like I was in the Blair Witch Project. I thought this fun, exciting film for kids somehow had the most gruesome act of violence I could ever imagine. Then, one day I finally sat down and watched all of it. All there was blood on the plane. So yeah, I never sullied myself to a Nazi getting sullied, but maybe now you can see how weird the human brain is. I don't get how getting muddy evolves into something debauched, but we're all relying on a little meatball with electricity running through it to get us through the day. And yeah, putting this out in the open on the World Wide Web invites mockery. But while maybe some of it is unpleasant and invasive, and not at all great for the actors to find, it shows a tremendous vulnerability for someone to crack open their minds and have strangers criticize what lies within. You can bury those feelings and you can scrub the internet clean of what you posted, but you can't unwire what was done all those years ago. And we don't know when these people became aware of these fetishes until we listen and learn. Who are we to judge when maybe you see a favourite of yours on Disney Plus and you decide to put it on, and suddenly that dormant imprint is activated like a pervert Winter Soldier? Thinking about that, did we get sleeper celled by Raja Gosnell? The director could not have possibly meant for such an inoffensive and forgettable children's film to have this effect. Sure, Scooby-Doo got a little weird.
I can look at myself naked.
And that was a little more overt.
Ghost keeps grabbing. Ah!
James Gunn wrote those for older fans, and Warner Brothers made it for kids, so some things fell through the drafts. But at least none of that was fetishist. Tom Monster is looking real wet and messy. Oh no. We need to focus on the filmography, not the individual movies. Practice and policy. Show me the director manipulated the system so that these movies wouldn't have to face criticism. Show me that they put those same fetishes back into cinemas time and time again. Show me this was systematic, that it came from the down top.
We need the full scope. That's the only thing that will put an end to it. They knew, and they let it happen. 2 kids. Okay, It could have been you. It could have been me. It could have been any of us. We gotta nail these scumbags. We gotta show people that nobody can get away with this. Not a priest or a cardinal or a freaking pope.
Just a laugh for the kids.
That doesn't sound like comedy to me. It sounds like when I was a kid, I'd be uncomfortable.
So anyway.
Do not cancel Raja Gosnell. His movies are fine. I still really like some of them. Show Dogs was weird, but like every family film, there's adult jokes. But I can guarantee you, without doing any more research, that these same people, or a new generation, are doing the same thing with Home Sweet Home Alone. I know I am.
What a McShame.
The Laserdisc technology offers us this opportunity, and we feel it's rather unique.
Me and Adam dropped carefully till I'd done the DVD commentary.
And I do have a great deal of knowledge that I think would be fairly interesting to most of you.
I was carrying 2 discs.
I've seen the film almost 200 times.
You are pulling my leg.